Right, Celtic won, Rangers won. The game was given a bit of a billing in the lead up to try and negate the fact that it was in real terms a meaningless fixture. It kind of threatened to get good for a wee bit. The first half, I'd say, was quite interesting for the majority, but I'm left feeling a little bit underwhelmed, John.
Yes, frustration, I think, is the word of the day for me. I disagree about it being a meaningless game. I know what you mean, but I always want to beat them, and I thought today was a good chance for us to kind of lay down a marker for the rest of the season. We've still got a cup to play for, and we could well draw them. So any psychological advantage at the moment is a positive for me. But unfortunately, it kind of panned out the way I kind of predicted. I thought it was going to be a pretty dull draw. And I thought Celtic threw that away there. I thought, again, that was a game there for the taking, like the defeat in January at Ibrox. I felt that we were the better side for large chunks of the game, and just the same old frustrations coming home to roost for Celtic again.
Yeah, it was certainly a game that I felt we could and should have won, and that's probably why I feel that feeling of being underwhelmed. It was a game that was there for us if we'd made the right subs at the right times, and if we'd taken the opportunities when they arrived at the right times. It's been a thing all season, hasn't it? I've never seen a team that shoots more attempts straight at the goalkeeper, and we saw that again today. Odsonne Edouard had, I think, 2 chances in the first half. We had a great chance as well with a header with Elyounoussi that was straight at McGregor. Even the goal, which was a great finish from Elyounoussi, was straight down the middle of the goal. But there's been 2 themes of this season, hasn't there? There's been missed chances and there's been conceding daft goals through individual errors and set pieces, and we kind of got all of that on show today.
Yeah, we had that, and we also had the old poor substitutions lark in the second half. Not sure if it was John Kennedy or Neil Lennon in the dugout today. I wouldn't have been surprised if Lennon was on the mobile phone to him. It just seemed, bringing Turnbull off for me was a poor decision. And again, the set pieces. When did the putting players on the post go out of fashion in football? I'm sure it's probably not the most analytical or efficient way to use people in the box, but we seem to lose the vast majority of our goals, especially against Rangers, with a ball at the fact that goes towards the far post and they stick it in, and we just didn't have anyone competing for it. I thought we played well in the first half, and you can go into the interval thinking, oh, we played all right there, that's fine. But for me, it was just the way that we threw it away that just really frustrated me. I think I maybe would have been able to take it better had we played really poorly, but I felt we were on the front foot and were aggressive and did take the game to Rangers, and unfortunately we've come up short again.
Yeah, I'm just really, ticking down the days and the games until we can start getting interested in football again and we can have a team that we get excited about, because that was a big game today with regards to, the fact that it was a derby, but that last 25 minutes or whatever it was when the game just really hit a lull and didn't pick up again, I was just not really totally invested in that match at all. The subs didn't help at all. I thought the subs were pretty frustrating. I think it was 74 minutes before he made his first one. He made a double substitution with, I think, 2 minutes left, and I was just kind of thinking, what's the point in that? We'll tackle some of the big incidents then, because that's probably the best way to do this. The opening goal, brilliant goal, great ball from Callum McGregor. I thought we did a bit more of that in the first half, really went direct when we could, targeted their right back situation. They had a centre back playing at right back, and we took real, good advantage of that. Great ball from McGregor. Edouard does what I'd like to see more of him doing, is that he played the ball first time. He didn't try and cut back on his right foot, a thing that he was doing too much in the latter stages of the game. He played it first time, probably because he realised that was the only thing he could do because he was right at the byline. But he played it first time. He didn't give the defenders a chance to set up. Elyounoussi gets in the end of it, and it's a brilliant header. It was a great goal.
Yeah, that's the thing about Eddie. You feel like he's got the natural ability to be incisive, and sometimes he either kind of slows down the game or takes a touch too much on the ball. But yeah, he's got the ability to play that kind of first time ball more often than not, and it was a great drive and run from Elyounoussi. That's the kind of partnership we arguably should have seen more of from Celtic this season, having a genuine attacking partnership between Edouard and whoever would be his partner, and it's just not come off for large chunks of the season. But there were signs, definitely, especially in that first half, that they could play together and be real stars for Celtic. It was a brilliant cross. The cross makes the goal. But Edouard, again, a bit wasteful for me in the final third. could have had a goal or two at least, and that for me is just that thing lacking from his game this season.
Yeah, he wasn't always like that, was he? I think he was like
No.
that when he first came to the club, and then it was coached out of him. He was ruthless, and he has. I know he's a top scorer in the league, and I think he's top scorer by 4 or 5 goals, and he still had, for any other player, a pretty good return this season. But his, ruthlessness hasn't been there this season, and for me, that was summed up by the chance. I think a couple of minutes after, we had a really good spell after we got the opening goal. We could have scored. Could have been 2 or 3-0 up at that stage. I think there was a chance before that, and then there was the big chance that came for Edouard. A passage of play, finds himself at the back post on his own. For me, I'm just thinking, go for it, put your foot through it. You've basically got an open goal, but he tried to be cute and take it back onto his foot. Was it a penalty for you?
I'm not sure if it was a penalty. It definitely wasn't a dive. I thought the decision to give him a yellow card was just ridiculous. My thoughts on Willie Collum. I've said it for years. I just think he's the biggest attention seeker in Scottish football. I think he tries to make games about himself, and he makes decisions that could be perceived as controversial to keep himself in the spotlight. I genuinely feel that, because there's been so many bizarre decisions over the years, and I was frustrated with that. I think it could have been a penalty. I think I've seen them given. I think the decision that saying it was a dive was ridiculous for me.
So was it a penalty for you then? If I pushed you for an answer, because you've kind of gone around it there.
I don't think it was a penalty, but I don't think it was a booking or a dive. I think that was just absurd.
Right. I don't think it was a penalty, and I don't know why Edouard didn't just strike it into the net. I was really annoyed with him for that. But at that stage, it looked as if it was kind of not going to really matter too much, because it seemed like we'd have far more opportunities. We had loads of other opportunities, especially in the first half. But then the key moment for me in that first half, what the hell is John Joe Kenny doing? I mean, we know he likes to pass the ball back, and he does it, umpteen times a game. Do you have any idea what he's trying there at that point when he has the ball effectively 40 yards from his own goal?
No, I thought he was probably a poorest player today if I had to pick one. I just wasn't convinced by him at all, and I don't think it bodes well for his long-term future at Celtic. Again, that was a frustration, because on the other side, a player who has had a lot of criticism this season, Diego Laxalt, I thought was pretty impressive today, and showed that why Celtic may have signed him in the first place. So we just can't seem to go through a game where both fullbacks are playing to the peak of their potential. I thought John Joe Kenny looked a bit nervous and scared today of the ball and of making the ambitious runs that we need in the opposition half.
I don't want to come out and blast him too much, and I'm probably going to do it now, but I think he's a pretty limited footballer from what I've seen. He's probably, we've had this conversation before, he's probably like a Mark Wilson or a Paul Telfer or an Adam Matthews. I think you made the comparison. He's effective, and he's probably does the basics relatively well, even though he had that nightmare episode today, because he also lost Morelos for the goal as well, so it was a double whammy, a terrible 30 seconds or so for him. But on the point on Kenny, I just don't think he offers us enough going forward. The difference between him and someone like Jeremy Frimpong or even Mikael Lustig in the past is massive. So yeah, hopefully today has kind of convinced everyone that needs to be convinced that he shouldn't be a right back next season. I never want to see him and Ryan Christie playing in the same wing as well, because that's just toothless. There was no imagination there. The goal itself is just frustrating. It's frustrating because obviously Morelos scored. I kind of feel like at least it's out of the way now, and we don't need to go into every derby worrying about it now, but it's obviously frustrating that it's happened, and it's frustrating it was so needless as well. Second half, we had a few chances as well, didn't we? We were certainly the team in the ascendancy, but as we've kind of already said, you just felt a little bit frustrated the way the game petered out.
Yeah, and I know we've touched on it, but McGregor must have made more than 10 saves today, and I don't think any of them were the so-called world-class one that he's pundits have been saying he's capable of. I don't think we really troubled him today at all, and that was the problem, is that we got ourselves into good positions. We did some pretty good work with possession, but we just didn't seem to have any cutting edge in that final third at all. And that's not like this Celtic team over the years. And again, I mean, that's been a problem the whole season. It's not anything new. And it just seems a bit like nothing much has changed from the Lennon days to the Kennedy one. to the Kennedy days, and I'm not sure if I expected them to change drastically, but I think I did expect some sort of upturn in performances, or at least a little bit of a change in decision making. But that just doesn't seem to be the case. And I mean, obviously, it feels like Kennedy's probably been as much a part of the problem as Neil Lennon, as a lot of people have said already. I'm not the first person to say that. So that that's the concern in this final part of the season, because I want to win the Scottish Cup.
Yeah, that'd be nice, but I do feel like this Celtic team's a way bit away from that at the moment with the way we've been playing. A lot of people suggesting that if we got a couple of good results in these last two derbies, that John Kennedy could really come into the frame to be our next manager. But I would certainly hope off the back of that display today, which wasn't terrible, that idea would be put to bed. As I say, we weren't terrible. We drew the game 1-1. We were much the better team. A lot of people may comment on that and say that it was much better than the last two derby matches, but I think those two are probably pretty irrelevant because, they were both defeats. For me, that was a Rangers team that played, I think, less than 72 hours ago, 60 hours ago, something like that, in a tough European game. We hadn't played in 14 days, and I think we looked just as tired as them in the closing stages of this match. I think both teams did look tired, but I would have hoped that we would have maybe had an extra gear to go into. So I just think it is a bit frustrating. We've got some comments coming in. I just want to bring you. Plexiplox has been getting in touch on our super chat. You can do that as well. Conceding from a set piece, profligate with our chances, not pressing high enough, rinse and repeat. Frustrating season. A few other ones. Eddie should have buried that, and the penalty wouldn't even have been a question from Robbie Smith. Certainly agree with that. Thoughts on this, Chris? One boy Laxalt, man of the match?
No, I genuinely thought he was one of our best players today. Turnbull didn't get the full 90 minutes. There wasn't really many other standouts for me. I thought El Yunusi was obviously good as well. But yeah, I thought Laxalt was effective on that left side, and actually a lot of our best play came down the left flank, and I think he was a large part to do with that. Not just when he was on the ball, but making movement to allow space for others as well.
One I got in there that I've just lost on the screen. There's a reason why some players from other clubs sitting on the bench and get no game time in regards to Kenny. That's one that Jackie McNamara has certainly mentioned on a number of occasions. Daniel Gallagher, very frustrated today, as I thought we should have won the game. A sloppy goal conceded that could have and should have avoided. Kenny not done anything to convince me he's worth a permanent deal. James McKenzie, we should have brought on Klimala to try and integrate him for when Eddie leaves. I thought it was interesting that it was probably a bit of a statement in kind from Kennedy that he took so long to make those changes today, because he did have players on the bench today that we've spent a fair bit of money on. But I guess this is just where we are. We're going to have five more league games and any Scottish Cup games, and the Scottish Cup games might be slightly different. There might be more meaning in them because there's a trophy at stake. But we are very much just, counting down the days until we get change at the club. Is that the way you view things? Yeah,
and just on that Klimala point, I mean, I don't particularly agree with the notion that, Klimala should be starting ahead of Edouard, but that striking position frightens me ahead of next season because Edouard's almost definitely away, and we just don't have a replacement. It's going to have to come from outside the club now, and that's probably going to cost us a lot of money. I mean, Albi Nieti wasn't even on the bench today, so I'm not sure if he's injured or what's going on there. I'm assuming it's an injury because he has been on the bench in recent weeks. So yeah, very concerning because I don't think Griffiths has answered either. So yeah, it's worrying about that kind of thing. It's the Scottish Cup. It's expecting stuff from, when are we going to announce a sporting director or director of football? Then how long is it going to be until we have a manager in the door? I think we need to see. We've been saying this for weeks, Hamish. I don't want to go over it again, but I really think an announcement on a sporting director needs to come quite quickly.
Well, I certainly hope that we're getting closer to that. We don't hear anything from the club, but we very rarely do hear anything from the club until it's announced. So time will tell. Just to finish the video, I just wanted to get your thoughts, and I'll give my thoughts as well on the probably quite uplifting scenes at the start of the game of Scott Brown going over to Glenn Kamara. Scenes that we've probably would never see before a derby match. But I thought a real sign of strength from Scott Brown. And I thought a real indication of what a great leader, what a great Celtic leader and what a great Celtic captain he was. I thought Celtic would have something lined up, but I wasn't expecting that.
No, I wasn't. I perhaps wasn't expecting that, but I believe that Celtic and Rangers were in discussions before the game about what to do ahead of the game. Obviously, they all stood rather than taking the knee, and Kennedy explained that that was just about perhaps taking the knee. The idea of that has lost its way a bit. I'm certainly one of those Celtic supporters who believes Glenn Kamara and supports Glenn Kamara after Thursday. I know there's been some chatter from some sections of Celtic support. What about today and two sides in it? Not for me. I thought it was important that Celtic showed that today, and they sent very strong message before the game, and they sent very strong messages, specifically in support of Glenn Kamara on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram and Twitter, and I think that's important too. And it's important to do this whenever this happens in the game. We know that Scott Sinclair has suffered racism in the past at Celtic. We know that Neil Lennon has suffered bigotry in the past at Celtic. This is an issue that goes, on in Scottish football more often than we'd like to admit. And I fully, I thought Glenn Kamara's statement through his lawyer was superb. And I think UEFA and the Scottish FA have to take more serious action on this. And I think that's what the players standing up together at the start of the match, that's what that was about. It's not just about the gestures, and it's not just about paying lip service. The people who can affect change in football, and I'm talking about the authorities, I'm talking about the Scottish FA, I'm talking about the SPFL, I'm talking about UEFA, have to take a stand on these issues, especially when some of it's occurring on the pitch. In the stands is bad enough, but when it's players, abusing each other on the pitch, then that's another matter entirely, and they have the power to take action, and they have to.
Here, John, I think you hit the nail on the head there. For me, these token gestures that we see before the game are great. Stand, take the knee, whatever you want to do, but the action has to be taken from those in power, both at government level and in football as well, especially, as you say, when these incidents are happening on the pitch. But yeah, I thought Celtic covered themselves in glory in that regard over the last few days, and today especially. Right, we are back tomorrow. I was trying to work out what day it is. I believe we're back tomorrow. We'll have another video. We'll have Jackie McNamara later in the week as well. There will be no shortage of topics to discuss. I'm not going to promise that we'll be chatting about today's game much longer, because I kind of feel like there's not a great deal to say that we haven't covered here. But we do appreciate everyone continuing to watch these videos, even when Celtic are struggling. Remember, if you've not yet subscribed to the channel, now is the time to do it. We're just about to finish the video, so right after we finish, you can give that a go. We'll speak to you soon. Take care, and hail, hail.